Over my years as a realtor in Waterloo region, I've had the pleasure of meeting plenty of successful person. Here are some of their stories. Welcome to People Around Town. I am so pleased to be here with I'll call him a new friend. To me, new friends are anybody that I've met since high school, so it's a long ways away, but a really good new friend, great guy, entrepreneur, let's just start with that, and then some. Mortgage broker with Mortgage Architects, Bennett Capital, real estate investor, definitely, and an identifier of opportunity is probably the way I'd want to put it best. So I guess when I say identifier of opportunity, these days, well, thankfully, I'm really not on social media much anymore. I prefer to just put out content as much as possible, but everybody loves the term hustle and hustler, and there's negative connotations that go with that. But I've always thought of myself in that regard from the positive point, meaning if there's opportunity out there, well, something can be made of it, but effort comes in, and wherewithal and knowledge and know-how and confidence in yourself, and looking to draw upon resources and connections and your whole sphere to sort of help you out. And Shaddi Fahel, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
Dude, it's I'm so excited with that. And based upon sort of the last thing I just said, it's like connections. And I know around the time when we first met, like I think we played soccer against each other.
Yeah.
But you was just the goalie that was tough to score against, and which is fine.
My role.
Yeah, and for the most part, I was playing defense because nobody in the right mind puts the ball at my feet if they actually want a goal to happen. So we were more just met each other on the handshakes and maybe some corner kicks, right? But that's about it. But I knew of you then. I forget exactly when we met, but it's like the moment we met, you were not only just a contact or somebody I knew, but a friend.
Yeah, and we hit it off pretty quickly.
We hit it off immediately. And then what I've noticed is anywhere I go, like friends of my son on his soccer team, like, you know, their dad. He was at your wedding. And like, let's just start with networking and your network or the people you meet. Like, do you know what you do is a little bit different than the average person?
Yeah, I mean, I know what I do is a bit different than your average bear. I think it keeps things interesting too, that way. In KW, Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, it's a small town. I'm born and raised here. Went to KCI for high school, stuck around, went to Laurier, and I had, a bunch of friends that left after, and I always thought KW is it's big enough that there's enough opportunity for everyone, and then you're only one or two calls away from getting to know someone that you might not know already if you need to do something with them or have a chat too. So yeah, I've always loved that about our community here too.
So who did you okay, a lot of people know a lot of people, but very few people know as many people as well as you do, and also would kind of do whatever necessary to help out those people. Like, if I don't even know how you would get into true trouble, not just fun trouble, but like, I don't know how you'd get into true trouble. But if somebody said Shaddi was in trouble, stop the presses. I'm there. I'm helping. And I don't think I'm alone. Do you notice that's any different?
Yeah, you're definitely pretty fortunate that way. For haven't gotten into much trouble, or haven't been caught at least getting into trouble lately. So I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, I think I kind of look back, or there's two things in life, I guess. One would be my old man, Shockey, who you know. He's probably a pretty social guy. We'll describe him as that. But growing up, I remember those memories with him. He knew everyone. I got to a very personal guy.
Yes.
Met some people along the way there. Had memories of walking through the mall with him as a kid, with people coming up to him saying hi, and then we'd walk away and he'd go, I have no idea who that was.
Yes. Okay.
So some stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, being genuine, being honest, heart on the sleeve a little bit. And then I think another, I guess, moment for me that led to that. Like I went to KCI for high school, so grade 9 through through OAC, and as I understand it, right when I started there, prior to that had been a bit of a rough school, but my experience there myself, and I think a lot of my friends, was excellent. We had an awesome time, and what really stuck out to me was a bunch of different ethnicities, a bunch of walks of life. Your jocks, your rappers, your academic stuff like that, all showed up at the same host parties on weekends, and we hung out together. We had a great time together. It wasn't
awesome.
confrontational or anything like that. So that's my memory of high school, at least. Like we played on the soccer team there. We had 9 different ethnicities and 4 players that barely spoke English. Like we found a way. We got along. We were, it was very inclusive, I guess.
Competitive at the very least, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And so, well, actually, it was Darryl George, our friend from Fur Homes.
Yep.
And
gotta mention Darryl.
I guess let's take him as an example, because phenomenal guy. Mind you, he's also that guy and I need to have him on here too.
Yeah.
But he's also that guy that he'll give to you if you're giving to him, and almost he'll give you the benefit of the doubt to start. So that's how I think we were connected.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it was through Darryl, and I appreciate what a special guy. But your relationship with him was built back when you used to work with the JG Woodworking and the JG sort of contracting group, correct?
Yeah, it actually came through a good friend, Yaksha. Again, it goes back to kind of the soccer days, a lot rooted in soccer. And still, he was at my wedding party, still one of my good friends now. Yes. He was, with Darryl, he was, Yaksha was a manager at Fastenal. Darryl was running Fur Homes. They were buying a lot off each other.
Okay.
Yaksha went, this guy's cool. We should go out together. And we went out together one day, had a beer, hit it off, became good friends since then. And then I think we met shortly after that.
Yeah. And it's just, I like to think that I'm special in that you like me a lot.
You're special, buddy.
I just like to think that. But I almost feel like when you leave a meeting and a conversation with somebody else, they feel the same way. Not too many people that I've introduced you to or have met you around me have forgotten you ever. And you mentioned you've learned that from your father, but I almost think there's something in that Fahel family bloodline that carries through, because your cousin Nabil knows a whole world of, I guess, small enough town, things overlap, but Nabil's a mover and shaker and a connector in his own right,
sure,
too. Did Nabil learn that from you? Did everybody learn that from Shockey? Because I think this is what a lot of people can learn. We'll get to the know-how of your optics and your brain and how you see opportunities and so forth, which is amazing to me, to be so well versed in so much. But the relationships that these Fahels can build in this town, is there a secret sauce?
I mean, my dad, Nabil's dad, were Christian Palestinians. My mom's Canadian, and Arab culture is just very open, hospitable. A lot built around breaking bread together and stuff like that. And not to put a plug in here, but my cousin Nabil and his family have a company called Black Market Hummus. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because my aunt, Nabil's mom, makes hands down the best hummus in the world. Hands down.
I will agree.
I will agree.
No, this hummus is so good that it's so good that it's bad, because the hummus could probably just eat with a spoon.
Yeah, I do that without shame.
My favorite thing is to get those small little pretzels.
Yeah.
Right? And it's thick enough that you can scoop it up with a pretzel.
Yeah.
So I guess that might not be the way to eat hummus properly, but so be it.
Well, as long as you're enjoying it, that's my criteria. But where it came from on the connecting part of it, people would try my aunt's hummus through Nabil, and then they'd start asking, when's your mom making more? And she'd make batches and he'd hand them out. And it got to the point, and this was just for free, just breaking bread together and stuff like that. And it got to the point, he said one day, he's like, man, I got to turn this into a company. He's like, why? He's like, well, I just... I met someone in a parking lot and I rolled down my car window, and they walked up to it, and I handed them a tub of hummus. And I rolled the window back up. No words were exchanged, and I drove away. And he's telling me this, and that's where he came up with the name Black Market Hummus from. But just yeah, I mean, Arab culture, breaking bread together is a very big, a very big piece of what we do, how we grew up, how we were raised, and stuff like that. And then the other side, like, life is hard enough as it is right now. You don't need to be dealing with, leave a good impression when you walk away from a conversation. Leave someone feeling better than when you started. It's true. What's anyone gaining from bringing someone else down or yourself down or anything like that? Well, so just trying to be as positive as you can.
And you mentioned life is hard. And I guess Palestinian background, over the years, including now, we're seeing hardships.
Yeah.
But then there's also your mom's side of the family. And I had the pleasure of meeting Grandpa Earl.
Mm-hmm.
What a special gentleman.
Yeah.
And now, speaking of hardships, like, he was in World War II, was he not?
Yeah, he was a World War II veteran, landed on Juno Beach. I don't remember what division of infantry he was in, but based out of Brantford.
Wow.
In Ontario. And then also my grandma, Gladys, they met during the war. She was from England. They met during the war and then married and came back here. But very, being very influential people in my life. Both my grandparents and especially my grandpa, but both my grandparents were the type of people that never had a driver's license. He'd ride his bike to work in the snow in the winter.
Wow.
Closest he came to a driver's license was my mom had bought a car, and then she, I think, went camping, and she left the keys to my grandpa and was like, go get your license, you can drive the car. And he walked into the office, there's a lineup, and said, forget this, and turned around and walked out, never got his license. So
wow.
But just very people that had the right moral compass, and always look up to them for that.
Well, I think they're looking down on you, or at least Earl is very favorably
my grandma's
right now.
passed as well too.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but
well, amazing. And then, okay, so down to now, what I know you for is what I know you for from a business standpoint. You are the type of guy that, to me, sees an opportunity, and what I'm privy to is those real estate opportunities,
mm-hmm.
and you jump on it. Now, I believe your father was into real estate development.
A bit of development
first,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Along with owning a cabinetry business.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we're going to sort of cycle back to that. So you own JG Contracting, which was primarily millwork, right? You guys did most of the millwork for like Bauer.
Yeah, that was
forth.
JG Custom Woodworking.
Okay.
The whole kind of Coles notes on the story is my old man came over to the country, shock you, when he was 18.
Yeah.
Eventually, in his 30s, he started painting out of the back of a truck.
Mm-hmm.
The truck actually, if you're ever talking to him, he'll give you this story. But he borrowed $1,000 from my grandpa, from his father-in-law, to start that company for the loan for the vehicle. I think it was a Grand Marquis or something like that. So he's painting out of the back of a truck, grew into a renovation company, kind of doing bathrooms and stuff like that. And then in the 80s, he was having trouble getting millwork for the jobs he was acting as a contractor on. So he started a small lease space, 1,000 square foot millwork shop. Still to this day, can't build a cabinet to save his life. And as we kind of progressed along the way, contracting eventually turned into development. So instead of doing work for other people, buying typically older buildings that need a lot of love, big renovation, and millwork kept growing. We were 70 employees or so in our heyday. Cambridge Mill, Proof Restaurant, Bauer Lofts, but here through to the Caribbean too. So bunch of work in the Turks and Caicos and stuff like that, leading up until we voluntarily exited that business.
And when that door closed, I'm sure there's history that goes with this, but from what I gathered, that's when I saw you take off.
Mm. Yeah, that was I feel for sure that was a big point in my career, and that was kind of kind of early 2000s, mid 2000s, we had always done still a little bit of real estate development on the go, and then our core competency was woodworking. I was working on buying the woodworking shop off of my dad. He was doing some of the development part, and I really was not involved in real estate and development or anything at that time. I'd grown up in and around the company, worked on the tools in the summer, knew which end of the hammer to hold and stuff like that, but real estate wasn't what I spent most of my time on at that point, and just really saw a change in the woodworking industry, where you're fighting to collect payments. There's no focus on quality anymore. Yeah. You can do an excellent job for a customer, and you're fighting to get
the next job.
Get the next job, and then I take my millwork hat off and I walk to the other side of our office where the development team is, and I'm listening to what they're going through to get projects financed. This is remember after 08, 9, 10, 11, yes. The financial crisis. Banks tightened up quite a bit then.
Yes.
And I'm looking what they have to go through to get loans approved, and they're trying to get trades down and numbers to work and stuff like that. And I'm over here, they're beating up on the millwork guy to try and get a project financed. Yes. I'm the millwork guy on the other side of the office, and I'm going, wait a minute, this is something's not quite right here. And then I mean, the millwork industry is as much as I enjoyed it, as beautiful as it is, you get to put the finishing touches on some of the nicest restaurants and projects and casinos and stuff like that, and around North America. But there's no barrier to entry. There's no trade certification. You can buy a saw tomorrow, start bidding on jobs. So it's not like a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC guy with a Red Seal trade. So we end up, one of the highest overheads, one of the lowest charge out rates. And when I started piecing all of this together, I kind of said to my dad, like, I'm going to give this one more year. If I don't see a major change, I don't think I want to keep buying this off you. And,
yes.
And another year, it got worse. Went back to him. Was like, we got to come up with another plan here. I'm not going to keep down this path here. And my dad, full of bravado, as you know, I'm like, I'm coming.
Well, he doesn't give up on anything.
I'll tell you. That's you step out, I'll step in. I'm running it. So we went about 6 months, and he came back after 6 months and said, forget this. There's no focus on quality anymore. I'm fighting to collect every payment. I can't even get on the next bidder list. So
yes,
we decided collectively, him and I, came up with a plan. Like we own the building we were in. It's about 100,000 square feet. We occupied about 70,000 of it.
On Rogers Street.
Yeah, on Rogers Street with the woodworking shop. So we came up with a plan where we're gonna keep it to ourselves. We're gonna run it business as usual. This is not a bankruptcy. This will be a voluntary closure of the business, not a liquidation.
Makes sense.
And when we find the right tenant for the building, then we'll announce and we'll do that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some magic out of Rogers Street. Oh. I wasn't even thinking about this, but I think you had one heck of a success story tenant that was out of there.
Yeah. So it took two.
Now, did you vet them, or did you know they were going to be that special, or
that I vetted? They were actually the third one that I brought through. So that time, kind of 2013s, 14s, 15, tech was huge. Tech is still huge in the area, but growing and money being thrown at startups and stuff like that, valuations all like through the roof. So that was where started looking. Essentially, I didn't want to rent our space to a wood shop. I wanted to rent it to someone where we could renovate it, bring up the value of the property, and kind of start down our real estate development path there. So
and we're gonna pull back. I'm not gonna forget that. Before I forget this, you took business at Laurier?
I did.
Or you paid attention to business at Laurier?
I did so technically my degree is honors communications, and I did a minor in business without the math courses that I'm needed for a business minor. And that's a different story of how math didn't click for me till I got in the real world.
I would say until now, because your math clicks for you now.
Now it's the world I live in. But then I didn't do any of them. I actually had to petition to graduate because all of my electives were business courses at the time. Like, why don't you have a major? I can't count. This doesn't make sense to me. So
okay. So that makes sense to me. I needed that closure. Okay.
Yeah.
So back to the special tenant in question, and this is, I guess, the first time you've ever leased out, I guess, industrial space?
So I had a little bit of experience from another building in the portfolio on the leasing side, and we had a tenant in the building. But we took it took 2 years to find the right tenant, and the right tenant ended up being a company called Thalmic Labs.
Yes. Legend.
town, which at that time was a sweetheart. Everyone had big plans for them, and they had big plans too. They made at the time something called the Mayo armband, developed into augmented reality glasses. But that was the company that we ended up doing a deal with to lease essentially the big chunk of our building. We said, we'll convert this into what you need, which was, we converted a wood shop into, there's a section of office space. There's anti-static flooring throughout the whole building. There's humidification systems. There's a class 10,000 clean room. There's a bunch of stuff I had no idea how to build or where to even start with that. But they needed office and they needed high-tech manufacturing facilities. So,
excellent.
Once we signed that deal, and I mean, both Shockey and I are proud of this, but the day after we signed the deal, we still had a backlog of work on the woodworking side. And the day after we signed the deal, we announced to our employees. So nobody knew before then that we've been working on this for a couple of years. We announced the day after, and then we gave, like those that stayed, we gave 10 months notice. We helped update resumes. We reached out to partners in the industry to try and at least set up interviews and stuff like that. We tried to do it, I think, the best way that we could.
Very few people would do 10 months these days, for sure. But I guess that speaks to you and your relationship you have with the community in town. And okay, this is so much fun. Okay, all right. So you've done now industrial / office leasing spaces.
Yeah.
Right. And then right now you also, I guess, you know what you can do, but then you also have partnerships with a lot of different people for different projects in town.
Yeah, we have some partnerships. Yeah.
How many partnerships do you think you have on the go right now?
In various different projects, I'd say seven. Seven. Okay. Yeah.
And then what's your?
We do quite a bit of what we do is in house, and the 7 would include the mortgage business and stuff like that. But
but 7 partnerships is still a lot. So what's your vetting process for bringing on a new partner?
Yeah, good.
And is it the partner that tends to come to you with the ideas, or is it you that goes to find the right partner to make these ideas come together?
Yeah, it's been a bit of both. We've definitely been approached on some things. I'm involved in a prop tech company called Huckleberry, where I'm kind of the real estate knowledge on that. I'm not the tech knowledge on that. My partner Mosab is the tech side of it. He approached me on that one. The other kind of criteria is I put a big value on bringing a tenancy before even waiving conditions on a building. Sure. So we'd look for whether it's industrial or commercial. We used to do more office space. That's obviously kind of dead right now. But when we can have a tenant for a building before even going firm on a deal, I put a big value on that, because
it just helps your backline numbers.
It helps your back line, and it takes, we're a small team. We're big enough to get it done, but we're not a huge team. And if you can take all of that leasing activity and dealing with the realtor that would list it and the negotiation, and you just focus on building it, financing it, building it, and then getting them in as quick as you can, I put value on that. So someone that can bring a tenancy, I guess. We have some partners in that scenario.
Okay, and then speaking of financing, so I'm sorry, I'm all over the map, and I'm sorry to you for trying to follow along with this, but you're talking about financing. So then you, again, from me, I believe you're the mortgage broker that is the guy to go to, especially for anything that's investment related, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guess because of your investments that you're into, that was something that you decided there was a hole. Is that why you got into mortgage business, or how did that work?
There's a few kind of key pieces. Working in the family business, that was something for sure that we were weaker on in-house. And definitely we're a bit weaker in-house. We had to get stronger there.
All right.
And then taking another step back. So you mentioned Darryl before. Darryl and I had a company. We used to flip houses on evenings and weekends. So we would work
wonderful flips there.
Yeah. Thank you. I know you've seen them, been close to a few of them. So we would typically, we'd work our 9 to 5, and then we'd show up and we'd work our 5 to 10 or until the wheels fell off, you
Yes.
know, and then Saturdays and Sundays. And you know, I look back at the hours and the time we put in, and I would just die if I tried to do that right now. This goes back, you know, 15 years or so.
Correct. You guys are putting in some nuts hours. I
Yeah.
didn't have to know where you were. I knew where you were. It was
Yeah.
after hours.
So my 9 to 5, I'm seeing some financing struggles in some of the developments we're doing. I'm flipping houses on the weekends and evenings with Darryl, and we went on to do another project, and we got declined for a loan for a first mortgage. I didn't even own a home at this time. Like,
Yeah,
we were just
you would have
flipping.
figured that would have been
Yeah,
easy.
yeah. And I went, what do you mean decline? Like, what's a decline?
I'm not going to mention the bank, but I remember the bank.
You
I
remember
hearing
that
about
one?
That, yes.
And that kind of, so I'm seeing it at work. I'm seeing it on the flipping side, and just where my mind went is like, I don't take no's very, very well.
No.
In the right scenario, obviously. And I went, I gotta see what they see. Why am I declined? Like, I don't want to hear. I want to see why I'm declined. So I went and I did my mortgage agent course, studied for that, and initially just with the idea of I want to see what the underwriter sees, so I can make sure that I'm positioning my own house flips, you know, 15 years ago, to make sure that I get them financed. And that led, and it grew into a business. I have a partner, Marco, with that now, and we do specialize in investment properties and clients looking for that.
You're doing a mortgage for me right now for a client for a regular house, but those still count.
Yeah,
and
we do those too.
Yeah, I'm doing a great job with those too. But it's amazing that, to me, you see an angle and you assess if it's going to make sense or if it doesn't. What sort of criteria do you vet your opportunities through? I guess I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, good question. And I'll kind of take a step back, because I'm sitting here as a mortgage broker that also said I don't know how to count, and that's not the truth.
Well,
that's not the
know
truth
when
anymore,
it matters to you, you can count.
Yeah, but it didn't for me. Numbers did not make sense to me through school.
Okay.
I struggled in you know, I was a good student when I applied myself. I struggled in math. I ended up with a minor in business almost without any of the math degrees and stuff like that. But it didn't click until I got into the real world, and I could see an income statement in that time in the woodworking days, and I could relate cost of goods sold to the wood out on the floor, and I could relate financing to our lines of credit and stuff like that. That's when it started. When it started clicking for me.
You saw it in real time.
Yeah, and then that just that led into some of the investments that we did, and understanding that. But as far as criteria, I call myself now an untrained numbers guy. So as far as I know in real estate, the 3 ways that you make money are cash flow, negative or positive, and that's what everybody sees and feels monthly and focuses on. But the other 2 ways are your principal being paid down and the property appreciating.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where we're different on the mortgage side, is we can help calculate an internal rate. Yeah, what's an internal rate of return? So we try and break, whether it's for a client or whether it's our own projects right now, you know, you ask kind of what's the criteria, how does it make sense? We try and break everything down to an internal rate of return number.
All right.
So how much is it going to cost us to put into the property, including down payment, carry cost, renovation cost?
Yes.
What's that going to generate? And at the bottom of the spreadsheet, what's the internal rate of return on it? Because it's easy. We all understand, not easy, but, you know, financial advisor, you give money to a financial advisor, they should get you 7, 8, 9, 10%.
I'll take 6
years.
as long as I know 6, I can only get 6, and give me 6 on 6 the next year.
Yeah, compounded. But that's a number that we, you know, we're not trained, we're not taught this in school, but that's a number that we understand. So how do you get a property to compare? How do you get a number where you can compare that financial advisor investment to buying a duplex or buying X amount of units or building X amount of units? So it's very, in real estate investment, real estate development, it's very, contrarian thinking. Typically you stick to an asset class, whether that's multifamily, industrial, office, self-storage, anything like that. Our portfolio is not like that and not built that way. We break it down, a project makes sense and we can make it make sense and we see a path to it and we have a tenant for it and stuff like that. That's part of the project. That's part of the criteria. Yeah. And it's been good for us in a sense that, you know, when we were doing some office space, then somebody ate a bat and the world ended. COVID came along and office space died. So that part of our portfolio would be down. But as that went down, industrial came up, and we have an industrial part of the portfolio as well. So warehouse space and leasing and things like that. So when one is down, another one is up, and at the same time, multifamily has come up as well. So it really helps navigate part of the, I guess, economic cycle of the different asset classes too.
Yeah.
Being a bit diversified there.
So it's kind of like the portfolio needs, or you like to have some sort of balance.
Yeah, between industrial, commercial, meaning office, and multifamily. That's been a criteria. It is balanced in the different sectors, and then the other thing we look for with a lot of our portfolio is that it makes sense today, and there's redevelopment potential in the future, in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. So something that makes sense today from a financial point of view.
Yes.
That might be on a major transit station area or in one of the cores, or we're buying up some of the stuff around it, and it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but sometime in the future we can build something on and do something to kind of improve that part of town for the community too.
So like base hits are totally fine, but let's just keep the bags loaded, and sooner or later they're gonna start getting pushed through.
I got nothing against base hits. Base hits are great. And
base hits with no strikeouts.
Yeah.
I remember I asked Shaddi one question. He goes, I did say, what's your favorite property? He goes, I don't know. I need to look at the balance sheets. I appreciated that. You asked me the wrong one. I'm like, I love that one. This is the brickwork. Whatever.
No, that makes sense. That was a funny answer, but it's not all capitalism under our roof here. Too.
And that's fair. And I love that. But actually, you brought up balance, and then or maybe I brought up balance, but you have a balanced portfolio. But from the outside looking in, you seem to have quite the balanced life.
Yeah, it's that took me a while to realize in my career. Like, you can't go 60 hours a week every week
flipping houses on nights and weekends.
Yeah. It ultimately the net effect of that is we were my wife and I were doing a major renovation on the house, and by my wife and I mean Darryl and I were doing it in between house flips.
Yes,
and I think you saw that one, but that took a lot of years, and I burnt out in that process. Like, we would spend a few months working on our place, we'd go flip another one for 6 months, we'd come back, do 3 more, we go flip another one, and those are some long years. And I like, my mindset at that time was I'm younger, it's in my career, I gotta build. I want to earn something, I want to prove my worth and stuff like that. And that's kind of going on at the woodworking side at the same time too. And
woodworking was still happening at that point.
Yeah, that wasn't I say 9 to 5. That wasn't a 9 to 5. That was I had 2 full-time jobs between flipping houses and running that company there.
And putting out the odd fire for your father. Too.
Yeah, those fire. Yeah, there's definitely some fires that grew along the way too. But on the balance side, I felt it. I felt it physically, mentally. Like, it was there's a time there was a drain, and it took me a while to realize that to be good at what I do in the day, I have to learn to unplug, to relax, to struggle today to not pick up the phone when it buzzes, and things like that. So a lot of the ones that I try and make time for now is obviously time with, although she would argue this, but time with my wife. Like, we got to plan date nights, and I'm big on putting them in the calendar too.
You're pretty good at those, I believe.
Yeah. But I'm better now at them than I was in the past.
Gotcha.
And then recharging for me, I used to compete in freestyle skiing back in the day.
Actually. I did not know that.
Yeah, so moguls and park way back in the day.
So you're a backcountry guy then
now
too.
I am, yeah. So the backcountry is where like freestyle skiers go to die these days when it doesn't hurt as much to land. But yeah, pretty big backcountry skier. We got a great little group in town that we get out into the backcountry a couple times a year, and then those. Just to your point about meeting people and networking, those people are my boys. Those are my friends first.
Yes.
But we do business together now. Some are partners on projects. Some are tenants in projects and stuff like that. And
that's wonderful.
It comes, from whether it's the golf course. It's balance, I would say, is blending for me. Like, I don't hate what I do. I love what I do. I just don't hate throwing it around a golf while I'm doing it too, or something like that. But
true. Well, you don't also want to mess up around a golf by not being present there too.
I'm perfectly capable of messing up many rounds of golf without any help. Yeah.
Actually, last time we played, you were quite good, so I give you full credit for that. Well, I think you're just showing me. Sometimes I get very linear in my thinking, and I just speaking to myself, I get linear in my thinking and say, okay, I just do real estate because I love real estate. But sometimes I wonder, hey, maybe I'm just not breathing for a moment just to see what else is out there. Because if there are other opportunities, doesn't mean I can take them. I can just flip them to you.
Oh, I was in a partner on them too. So
Okay, yeah, that's an option. And then we're just thinking about JG Group. So you grew up in town, knew everybody in town. You worked with your dad at JG Group for a long time, and then back then, if this Shaddi could talk to that Shaddi, anything that you would say to sort of maybe push things along, or say don't worry about it, you'll get there? Like what do you want to say?
Good question. There's so many ways to answer that one. I would say, I mean, for my career, get into real estate sooner.
Yeah.
Not just because of what comes with it, but that's what I'm passionate about.
Right.
I didn't realize that until I was fully into it. But yeah, I mean, get into that sooner, and then for anyone that's looking to get into that and isn't sure where to start, just start. Just dive.
Right.
Just dive in. Make mistakes. Fail. Lose a little bit of money. Not a lot. Lose a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Find your resources. Read your books. Ask.
Go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube. Yeah. Bigger Pockets is a great community that I went to online. There's a bunch of podcasts on that at the beginning. But yeah, just for me, I think if I were to tell myself one thing at the beginning, I would say stick your toes in real estate. You're gonna like it.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to fail. But so yeah, I guess like fail early, fail often, and fail cheaply, I think is the quote.
Yes.
So don't
learn as you go.
Don't
do the same thing twice.
Yeah. But like fear of failure was a big one at the beginning of my career. That took a little while to overcome. And I, there's a I read a book called it'll come to me. It's by a guy named Sam Zell.
Sam Zell.
Sam Zell is he passed away a couple of years ago, but
we'll add it to the comments.
So, yeah,
we'll add the book. Yeah.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
the comments. Yeah.
Sam Zell is kind of attributed with being the inventor of the REIT, the Real Estate Investment Trust, and
yes.
that model. I think it's called "Am I Being Too Blunt" or something like that. The book, but the kind of my big takeaway from that was it was analyzing your worst case scenario and getting comfortable with that. Regardless of what industry you're in, when you're making an investment, when you're trying out for a soccer team, whatever it is, analyze your worst case scenario. Make sure you can stomach it. Make sure it's not going to, majorly alter your life, or especially your family's life, or the roof over your head or anything like that. And if you're comfortable with that, then it's just plowing ahead and finding a way in whatever you're trying to do there. But analyzing your worst case scenario in real estate investment for me has always been one with every deal, every project, regardless of the size of it. That's something that we're big on and big at looking at, and making sure that we can stomach that and manage that and eventually find a path out of it in case it came up.
And then you just plow ahead. Well, the only other thing I would say that you could tell yourself is you know how to build relationships, so keep doing that. And you're good at math.
Yeah, I figured that out. Plus, minus, addition, subtraction.
Those are the ones that really matter.
Yeah, don't hit me with the square root of anything along the way. I had a couple fights with teachers in high school that, it'd be one of those exam questions of a train is going X amount and rain is falling this amount, and there's X amount of track, and where does the whatever track intersect the intersection and stuff like that. She's looking for you to write out the formula, and I drew trains.
Yeah, dude.
But I got the answer right.
Oh,
I'd a couple of these times, not all the time. Sometimes I'd figure these out.
Yes.
And I'm handing in the exam, and there's a train on it. She's like, "What's this?" And it doesn't matter. There's the answer. So I was math made sense when I could relate it to things, or learn from an experience or something like that. But if it was formulas and things like that in high school, I had no chance or interest.
You sort of taught me some math on how to mark a golf ball, but we'll save that for the next one. Shaddi, thank you very much for joining me here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. I've learned a few things and then some, and I will make sure that no decent-ish opportunities slide by my face without at least vetting them by you.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me today.
All right.
Cheers.
You're awesome, man. Motivating and then some. That's Shaddi Fahel.